Beautiful. Lovely. So just a bit about the training. The training started yesterday, will be this morning, of course, and then we'll also be finishing up at 9:30 a.m. Western Standard Time tomorrow morning. And don't worry, if you haven't been able to make yesterday's training, I will be emailing out on Thursday a recording of each of the sessions so that you can follow back on them as well. And if there is any questions along the way, please either write them down or pop them in the chat, and I will get back to them at the end of the session. So we'll have about 10 minutes left for that. Fantastic. So can I just get in the chat, if you learned or you attended our session yesterday, are you able to let me know if there's anything that you learned or that resonated with you? Just pop it in the chat. So in the chat, if you attended yesterday's session, just maybe write one thing that you learned yesterday or something that resonated with you in terms of Xero. Thanks, Louise. It was great to learn how to customize the home screen. Absolutely, yeah. Sometimes it can just be so busy on that home screen. So, and also to know that it hasn't adjusted anything for any other users in your software is really great. Making things a lot easier with the watch list. Yeah, absolutely. Monitoring your superannuation pay-as-you-go withholding and GST accounts is going to be key to managing cash flow because you can track those accounts rather than at the end of the quarter getting lumped with a bill. Beautiful. I also do have a 10-month-old. So if you hear him crying in the background, he is safe and fine with his dad. So I'll just let you guys know about that. Fantastic. All right, well, let's get started with today's bank reconciliation training. Of course, if you have any questions along the way, please pop them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end. Awesome. Can I just get a reaction to let me know that you can see my Xero demonstration file? Beautiful. Thank you so much, guys. Lovely. Fantastic. So I'm going to start with adding a bank account in Xero. So if your Xero file is already set up, you may have already set this up, but also if you've added any bank accounts along the way, we're going to start with that. So the first thing we do here is come to accounting and bank accounts. In the demonstration file, we have 2 bank accounts set up and they bank with Bankwest. However, if you would like to add another bank account, we're just going to click bank account here. Most of the popular Australian banks will be in there. Even your credit societies like Police and Nurses, American Express is also in there. This is just showing you your most popular banks in Australia. So of course, we're just going to select, for example, Commonwealth Bank. So each bank account, NAB, ANZ, Commonwealth Bank, they actually have different ways of connecting your bank feeds to Xero. And when I say bank feeds, I mean that Xero will link to your bank account and all your transactions that are in your bank account will automatically feed through to Xero. So it makes it easier for you to reconcile that. So to link these accounts up, there is various ways per different bank. With Commonwealth Bank, it directs you to immediately log in and connect the account. But what we'll notice is it won't be the same for every single bank. So for example, if you're with ANZ, you'll have to start by entering in the account details. And then what I'd always recommend you do is to just Google Xero ANZ bank fees or Xero Commonwealth bank fees, and up will come up all the instructions to do that. So for example, I've just Googled Commonwealth Bank and Xero bank feeds, and this is what appears. It tells you what you need to know, how to apply for the feed, how to transfer to CBA's direct feed, how to stop your bank feed, and how to reconcile corporate credit card repayments as well. When we look at ANZ, so if I was to Google ANZ Xero bank feeds, it's a bit of a different process, but it would also tell you what you need to know, how to apply for the bank feed, transfer to ANZ direct feeds, and stop your ANZ bank feeds. Fantastic. So here you would simply enter in the account name, the account type. So you have the option of everyday, day-to-day, a loan, a term deposit, or other. You should also have the option of a credit card as well if you have a business credit card. Your currencies and batch payments are set up. So what that refers to is if you pay your supplier bills through an ABA file, which we'll be going through tomorrow, you will need to have batch payments set up. And also if you pay payroll through Xero as well from that direct bank account. If you have had any problems with either paying superannuation from a bank account or paying suppliers through a bank account, what you would need to do is go to accounting here and chart of accounts. Find that bank account. They usually here, usually have their type there, and just ensure that I'm just going to enlarge that for you, but all of these details are filled in. So your bank account number, the account type, it has to have a code. There has to be no dashes or spaces in the bank account number or BSB number. And your DE user ID is what you will need to have entered if you would like to make batch payments from Xero. And I highly recommend that because it will make your life a lot easier. DE user ID is specified per bank. So if you just Google CBA DE user ID, they're also known as, there's another word for it, it will come up. Then you just enter that into the bank, into that area there and click save. So once that's complete, then you'll be able to pay superannuation, pay payroll, and pay your suppliers from Xero as well. But if you haven't had any issues with that, that's probably why. Perfect. So we're going to go back to the dashboard and have a look at these bank accounts. Now, just looking at the dashboard here, I want to explain a couple of things. So balance in Xero and statement balance. You'll see two terminologies, and that would either be balance in Xero or account transactions there, or bank statements. So sorry, I'll just go back, my apologies. So the difference between these two is bank statements are coming directly from your bank feed from your bank account. Account transactions is what we have entered into Xero. So for example, if we mark an invoice as paid, we've now entered that into Xero, that will come up as account transactions. Everything that's come through your bank feed will come through as a bank statement. So there really shouldn't be any difference between these two at all. That is where we have some discrepancies if there is. So if we have entered more transactions in the in Xero, or we have deleted bank statements that have been fed through, we can notice discrepancies between these. So if I have a look at this is the balance in Xero at about $17,000, and our statement balance is at $4,000. So there's a discrepancy there. And this could be because of a few things. One, we haven't reconciled the amount of items. So these items that aren't reconciled yet, they've come through from the bank feed, but they're not in Xero yet because we haven't reconciled them. Two, we could have deleted some statement lines, and I'll show you how that could happen in a minute. Three, bank feeds can drop out. So that is quite common for banks like credit societies, ANZ also, their bank feeds can drop out quite often. So yeah, those are a couple of reasons why. But if I just have a look here, as you can see, we've got 4 tabs up here. We've got the reconcile tab, which we'll go through in a moment. We've got cash coding, which we'll also go through in a moment. We've got the bank statements tab, which is directly fed from the bank account. This source should be bank feed, but in this instance, we have imported some transactions, which is absolutely fine. And account transactions is what we've entered into Xero. So as you can see here, this payment here on the 26th of July for ABC Furniture, that actually hasn't come from a bank transaction. That's just manually been entered in. And this is why that variance is going to be so different, because we are manually entering in transactions. So my recommendation to avoid that is by using the Reconcile tab at all times. And we're going to go through that now. So on the left-hand side, this is everything that's been come through from your bank statement. And on the right-hand side is what we're going to enter into Xero. You have 4 options here to reconcile your bank account. We have match. This option is where we have an invoice, a customer invoice or a supplier bill already in Xero, and Xero will use the amounts to match the transaction automatically. So Xero has automatically matched this transaction. If you're happy with this invoice being matched to this payment, we can simply click OK. If we're not happy with this invoice matching this payment, we can click Find and Match. And out will come all the invoices that we have entered into Xero, and we can simply just click on them. At the bottom of this, I'll just scroll out. So we can click on those invoices. You'll see all the invoices totaling up here, and you'll see an amount. So the subtotal here and how much it is out by. Ideally, you would like no out amount. However, we're quite happy that this is Ridgeway University's invoice because the amount matches, and also the invoice detail matches as well. So I'm just going to click Reconcile there. On the contrary, so this is an amount that has been spent, just over $1,000, and this is matching the spent amount to a bill that's already been entered into Xero. So once again, it's matched automatically through the amount, not any other details, so not the name or anything. So Xero can get it muddled up if you have customers or payments made that are the same amount. So I'd always recommend you go to Find and Match again. Just make sure you're happy with that, and then click Reconcile. That's the match function. The next function is Create, and this is you manually creating a transaction in Xero to match that statement amount. So these fields are mandatory. Who will be your contact name? So for example, this demo file has spent $4,500 to the Smart Agency. So who would be the Smart Agency? What is actually refers to your chart of accounts. So what would be the account that you would like to enter into, or what the purchase was for? So we could say that this purchase was for advertising, perhaps. And we can enter a Y as a description. So advertising. Region, this is where tracking comes into. So this area here has been set up for tracking. And of course, your GST, because this is spent, you only have these 3 options here. We've got BAS excluded, GST-free expenses, or GST on expenses. Of course, I'd recommend you to always look at your invoice that you've received and make sure it matches that. If you have to split the GST, you can always add details here. If you have to split it by different lines, you can say there was a bank fee attached to it, which was $500. And so on and so forth. And you can keep adding different lines, different tax rates there until you save the transaction. Once again, it's adding it all up for you, and it will tell you if it's out just there. So I'm going to save that transaction, and I can either hit Reconcile or OK up here. The next one is your Transfer tab. So this is just for transactions that are transferring between bank accounts. So this bank account that we're reconciling at the moment is called the business bank account. There's another bank account set up in here called the business savings account, which I recommend everyone set up. And that is just if you're transferring money to and fro. You just have to select transfer and click OK. And the fourth option is the Discuss tab. Now, whatever you write in this tab will be seen by every user that has access to your Xero file. But this is just really for you to communicate to a business owner, to your accountant, to anybody that you might need help with this transaction for. And once you save that, everyone can see that. And that will be the first thing that comes up on their screen when they come into the bank reconciliation area. There is also bank rules. So for example, Xero is quite intuitive in that it will start automatically recognizing some transactions. So up to 2 times, once you have, for example, this one, NAB bank fee, if you have reconciled it to the same bank account with the same GST code twice, it'll start recognizing it. So just like this one has, it'll look like this and it will say, okay, yep, this account looks exactly the same and let's press OK. So it just makes it a bit easier for you. The other option you can do is to create a bank rule, of course. So if you go options, create bank rule. So here's your fields. We can apply a bank rule of any conditions that match or all conditions that match. In this instance, let's say all. The payee, it's filled in some of it for you, is NAB. The description is bank fees. Let's add a contact. So we'll say NAB. Now, in step 3, we can either allocate fixed value line items, so maybe $5 to this account and $10 to this account, or we can just do the whole remaining percentage to a certain account. So I would do that. Bank fees, tax rate, and 100%. I want it to go to that account. The reference, you can either set that manually yourself every time you reconcile this account. However, I just say set the reference from the reference so that that transaction flows through. And then, of course, you want a title on your rule. So run this rule on which bank account. You can do it on all bank accounts or just one bank account. And you'd like to name the rule as well. So NAB bank fees. I'm going to click save. And now when we go back, it will look like this, that transaction. On the 22nd of July, we've got NAB bank fees and it's clearly a bit different and it's a rule. So we've applied the rule. If you would like to click on it, you can click on that to look at the details of that bank rule and just click OK. Another thing you can do here is add details, and you can, we spoke about Xero files yesterday very briefly, where you can email, upload or attach or use an app to upload any invoices. This is where you will save them. So for example, when you've purchased Cooper Street Bakery, if that business owner or whoever's made that purchase has taken a photo of it through their Xero app and added it to Xero files, so there'll be a receipts area in the app, and if they just click add to Xero files, it will add to that file library. So when you come here, you can just go add from file library and the receipt will be in here. So you can simply click on the receipt and add the file. Alternatively, you can upload any file from your computer software as well. That just helps you electronic file all your receipts. So when it comes to tax time, your accountant doesn't have to query you for every single receipt. You've already got it in there and you can reduce all that paper copies as well. Let's save the trees. Perfect. The last thing I wanted to go through was cash coding. So this is, you do need a higher level of access to be able to code this, because once you code cash coding, it is done. So I recommend to use it once you feel really comfortable with the reconcile process. But this is for if you have a lot of transactions for the same code, for example. So you can filter this by payee. So for example, you can see here Central City Parking. There's 5 of those now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the description and I'm going to say the account is for parking or vehicle expenses, let's say. And I'm going to quickly code quite a few transactions at once. And I'm going to click save and reconcile all. So they were done. So that's just a really quick way to get on top of things. Fantastic. I am going to open up the chat for question time now. So please pop your questions in there if you like. If there's anything you need me to go over again, please just let me know. Thanks, Jess. What apps can you use for uploading to Xero for receipts and invoices? Awesome. You can use it. So there's Xero. It's just a normal Xero app. It looks like that blue icon for Android and iPhone. You can also use HubDocs. That is a really great software. It comes with your Xero subscription. It uses a bit more intelligent AI, artificial intelligence, to recognize your transactions. So eventually it gets really smart and it will code everything up for you, and then you just have to import. So have a look at that for sure. That HubDocs has an app as well. A lot of business owners, I find, they just find it easier to download the Xero app. Both have similar functionalities. HubDocs is just a pure uploading receipt product. So of course they've invested a lot more time into that. There's also something called Dex, D-E-X-T. That's really popular with Xero as well, automatically integrates with Xero as well, but there is an additional fee for that. I think HubDocs is perfectly fine if you have a high level of supplier invoices come in. HubDocs will probably be your best bet because it auto recognizes the invoice number, the dates, the due dates, the accounts that you enter, the GST codes, everything. And then you just have to basically click import and it will import it to Xero for you. So have a look into HubDocs. If not, your Xero should be pretty okay too. Thanks, Celeste. Of course, Louise, no problems. I totally get daughters waking up earlier than expected. You're welcome, Jess. Thanks. Lovely. I'm going to wait on here for another 5 minutes. So if you can think of anything else, please do let me know. Oh, thanks, Marilena. Appreciate it. Yeah, fantastic, Sally. Let's go through tracking. Lovely. So with tracking, that helps you be able to track the profitability of certain revenue streams, of certain products or services you might offer as well. So I'm going to go through that now just to show you exactly where that is. So we go to accounting and advanced and tracking categories. And this demo company have tracked east side, north, south, and west coast of their business. So this might be location tracking, for example, but you can even track, what are some things that my clients track? I'm trying to think, it's completely lost me. But we'll go with regions. So regions of sales and things like that. So when you enter in your invoices, you will notice that you can track income as well. So for example, if Boom FM, they're from Melbourne by the looks of it. So we can edit this invoice to the region. And we can say they're from the Eastern States. All right. Also, when we make a purchase, or we have some bills to pay, let's say the Heritage Trust, this subscription, let's say that was also purchased from the region, the east side as well. And then I'm going to show you the outcome in a second. Also, when you reconcile your bank accounts, you'll have the option there for the region as well. So let's say this City Limousines was for the east side. So the benefit of this is that now we'll be able to track the income and expenses for those regions. So if I go to a profit and loss, it's just a really great level of reporting to be able to help you manage your business. So I'm going to change it to this whole financial year so we have some data to play with. But here you can see we can compare tracking categories. So at the moment it's on none, but we can select all and apply and update. So now you can see east side, the sales for east side, and the expenses we've allocated to east side, and the net profit for east side. North side, south side, and anything that's unassigned that hasn't been allocated to a specific region at this point. This just really helps you track the different business categories, track how each region's going, track how each service is going as well. You can track quite a few things. A lot of my clients track jobs, so they might want to track the profitability of a particular client or a particular job that they might have going on at the moment. So being able to enter in that extra tracking category can be really helpful to see the profitability of things. Of course, you can just select east side only and update that as well. Does that help, Sally? You're welcome, Sally. I personally track from a bookkeeping perspective. I track where my income comes from. So that helps me know where my energy should go to each month or each quarter. So I'll track whether it's come from Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, all my marketing ways. And then I know that it's actually working. So yeah, really helpful as well. Just helps you redirect your energy. Thanks for that question, Sally. That was a great question. Fantastic, guys. Well, I'm going to end that for today because I'm sure you have a very busy day ahead. But thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you at the same time, same place tomorrow morning, at 9:30 Western Standard Time. I'll see you then. Sorry, Jess. Yes, if we have any questions after these sessions, yeah, absolutely. Yep, you should have my email address. So yeah, please flick me an email. I will be doing more of these sessions as well. So I will keep you on my mailing list and email out some more sessions, of course. And if there's like more of one query, I'm happy to hop on a Zoom and do another session as well. Thanks, Jess. Have a nice day, guys. See you tomorrow.